Have you ever wondered why your kindness often feels unappreciated? You're the one who always texts first, makes the plans, and shows up, but what do you get in return? A lukewarm response, indifference, or worse, being taken for granted. Why is it that the more you give, the less you seem to receive? This cycle of giving without reciprocation doesn't just drain your energy, it chips away at your self-worth. Think about this. When was the last time someone truly valued your effort? Or did they simply assume you'd always be there? Stoicism teaches us that our peace and worth should never depend on the whims of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Could it be that by being overly nice, you're surrendering this power? In today's video, we'll explore 7 powerful reasons why you need to stop being too nice. But this isn't about becoming cruel or indifferent. It's about reclaiming your self-respect, setting boundaries, and living in alignment with your true self. Each reason will challenge the way you perceive relationships and teach you how to transform your interactions. Stay with me to the end, because the final reason is the ultimate key to attracting genuine, meaningful connections. Let's dive into the first reason and uncover why being overly nice signals desperation. 1. It signals desperation. Desperation, the silent killer of respect and attraction. Have you ever stopped to consider how your endless giving might appear to the person on the receiving end? It's natural to want to show someone you care. But when your kindness comes at the expense of your dignity, it transforms into something far less appealing. Neediness. Take a moment to reflect. Are you bending over backward to accommodate someone even when they don't reciprocate? Do you constantly text first, rearrange your schedule, or overthink every interaction to avoid upsetting them? Be honest with yourself. Is this coming from a place of genuine affection, or is it fear? Fear of losing them, fear of being alone, or fear of being seen as unworthy? The Stoics taught us that our worth is not determined by external factors but by our inner values. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions but in having few wants." This applies to relationships as well. When you signal desperation, you're essentially telling the other person, "I need you to validate my worth." And no one finds that attractive. Imagine this scenario. You're in a store, and the salesperson is overly eager, following you around, offering unsolicited suggestions. Do you feel drawn to buy something, or do you feel suffocated? The same principle applies to relationships. People instinctively pull away when they sense someone is desperate for their attention. It's not cruelty, it's human nature. The harsh truth is that desperation reveals insecurity. It suggests that you don't believe you're enough on your own and that you're willing to compromise your self-respect just to keep someone in your life. This imbalance doesn't just harm your self-esteem, it disrupts the natural flow of the relationship. Over time, the person you're trying so hard to hold on to will lose respect for you. And without respect, there can be no true connection. So what can you do to break free from this cycle? The answer lies in Stoicism. Instead of seeking validation from others, focus on cultivating your inner strength and self-worth. Remind yourself that you are complete within yourself, that your happiness doesn't hinge on someone else's approval. A Stoic approach to relationships involves acting with integrity, not out of fear. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. What thoughts are you nurturing right now? Are they empowering you or undermining you? It's time to take back your power. Stop chasing. Stop bending. Start living in alignment with your values. When you do, you'll notice a profound shift, not just in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. Confidence is magnetic, and when you radiate self-assuredness, the right people will naturally gravitate toward you. This brings us to the next important reason, why appearing too nice can make you seem weak. Let's explore how your actions might be unintentionally diminishing your value in the eyes of others. 2. It makes you look weak. Kindness is often mistaken for weakness, but only by those who fail to understand its true value. Now ask yourself this. Are you being kind, or are you being a pushover? There's a stark difference between the two. When you prioritize others at the expense of your dignity, You unintentionally communicate that you don't respect yourself. And when you don't respect yourself, why should anyone else? Imagine you're a pillar holding up a building. If you're firm, unyielding, and grounded, the structure remains strong and respected. But what happens if that pillar starts to bend under pressure, trying to accommodate every force it encounters? The building begins to collapse. In relationships, this bending looks like always saying yes, avoiding confrontation, and sacrificing your own needs to keep the peace. It's not strength, it's submission. People admire those who hold their ground, those who act with conviction. But when you're too nice, constantly bending to someone else's will, you send a clear message. I'm willing to compromise my worth just to make you happy. This doesn't inspire respect, it diminishes it. And respect, as you know, is the foundation of any meaningful connection. Consider this. Would you follow a leader who never made decisions, who constantly wavered, trying to please everyone? Or would you trust someone who stands firm, even in the face of pressure? The same applies to relationships. When you're overly agreeable, you don't come across as kind, you come across as someone who can be walked over. And the sad truth is, people often treat us the way we allow them to treat us. Think about the last time you overextended yourself to keep someone happy. Did they appreciate it, or did they start to take you for granted? Kindness without boundaries doesn't inspire gratitude, it breeds entitlement. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." How much of your time are you wasting trying to win the approval of those who don't respect your strength? So how can you flip this script? The answer lies in reclaiming your inner power. Practice saying no. Start small, decline a favor you don't truly want to do. Set boundaries that reflect your self-worth. When you do this, you're not being unkind, you're demonstrating that you value yourself enough to stand firm. And paradoxically, this firmness is what earns genuine respect from others. Let me ask you, how does it feel to stand up for yourself? To draw a line and say, "This is what I deserve." Empowering, isn't it? That's the energy you need to bring into every interaction. When you act from a place of strength, you don't just change how others see you, you change how you see yourself. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where being too nice backfired? Share your story in the comments. I'm sure many of us can relate. And if this resonates with you, show some support by hitting the like button. Your engagement not only helps me know what content you value, but it also helps spread this important message to others who might need it. Up next, we'll explore another profound reason why being overly nice can harm you, the way it forces you to sacrifice your own happiness. Let's uncover why reclaiming your joy is key to building stronger relationships and a more fulfilled life. 3. You sacrifice your own happiness. Think for a moment about the last time you said yes to someone when you really wanted to say no. Maybe you canceled plans you'd been looking forward to, or you stayed silent when you should have spoken up. How did it feel? Did it leave you with a sense of accomplishment or with a quiet resentment that lingered long after? One of the greatest costs of being overly nice is the gradual erosion of your own happiness. When you prioritize someone else's needs above your own, time after time, you're not just being kind, you're disappearing. Each small sacrifice chips away at your sense of self until one day you look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. Why do we do this? Why do we sacrifice our own joy in the hope of pleasing others? The answer lies in a desire for acceptance. We tell ourselves that if we give enough, if we're agreeable enough, we'll earn someone's love, approval, or loyalty. But here's the truth. Happiness built on someone else's terms is never truly yours. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. What does this mean in the context of relationships? It means that your happiness should never depend on someone else's acknowledgement or gratitude. True contentment comes from living in harmony with your values, not by bending to fit someone else's expectations. Now think about how sacrificing your happiness impacts your relationships. Have you ever met someone who seems to live entirely for others with no goals, no passions, no spark of their own? Are you drawn to them? Probably not. We are naturally attracted to those who are confident in their path, who exude joy and purpose. Sacrificing your own happiness doesn't bring you closer to others, it distances you from them. Here's another harsh truth. When you constantly give at the expense of your own well-being, people don't see it as noble. They see it as desperation. The more you prioritize their needs while neglecting your own, the more they take you for granted. It's not their fault. You've trained them to expect it. And with every sacrifice, you become less of a partner and more of a shadow, a version of yourself that exists only to serve someone else's desires. Imagine for a moment what your life could look like if you stopped this pattern. What passions would you pursue? What dreams would you chase? What relationships would you nurture if you weren't constantly trying to meet someone else's expectations? The beauty of reclaiming your happiness is that it not only revitalizes your spirit, but also reshapes how others see you. When you're joyful, purposeful, and confident, you become magnetic. You inspire others to rise to your level, not pull you down to theirs. Here's an exercise. Take a piece of paper and write down 3 things that genuinely bring you joy. It could be something as simple as a hobby you've neglected, a place you've wanted to visit, or a skill you've always dreamed of learning. Now ask yourself, why have I been putting these off? Who or what am I prioritizing instead? The answers might surprise you. The Stoics believed that happiness was a byproduct of virtue, a life lived in alignment with your principles. When you sacrifice your happiness to appease others, you betray not just yourself, but the very essence of what it means to live a fulfilled life. Seneca reminds us, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. Are you learning to live for yourself, or are you merely existing for the sake of someone else? Reclaiming your happiness isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's the foundation of any healthy relationship and the cornerstone of a meaningful life. Without it, you can't offer your best self to others. And when you start living authentically, when your joy radiates from within, you'll find that the right people will naturally gravitate toward you. They won't need you to sacrifice your happiness to keep them around, because they'll cherish the vibrant, fulfilled person you become. Next, let's explore why putting others before yourself doesn't just harm your happiness. It also prevents you from growing into the person you're meant to be. 4. It prevents personal growth. Have you ever felt stuck, like you're standing still while life moves forward without you? When you prioritize someone else's needs over your own, this feeling isn't just an occasional frustration, it becomes a way of life. Being overly nice often means putting your own ambitions, passions, and growth on hold. But here's the harsh reality. When you stop growing, you stop living authentically. And nothing kills attraction, respect, or self-worth faster than stagnation. Imagine a plant that receives plenty of water but no sunlight because it's overshadowed by something larger. Despite your best efforts, it withers. This is what happens to you when you constantly put someone else's happiness ahead of your own. You're the plant, craving sunlight in the form of personal development, but the demands of others cast a shadow that prevents you from thriving. Over time, your potential fades, and with it your joy, creativity, and sense of self. The Stoics believed that growth was essential to a life of virtue. Seneca said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Goodness in life comes not just from what we give to others, but from how we improve ourselves. If you neglect your own development, you're not just limiting your potential, you're diminishing the quality of the life you could lead. Think about your relationships. People are drawn to those who are growing, those with ambition, curiosity, and a sense of purpose. When you stop investing in yourself, you become less dynamic, less exciting. The initial spark of connection fades because you're no longer the vibrant, evolving person they were first attracted to. Instead of being someone who inspires, you become someone who simply exists in their shadow. But here's the deeper problem. Sacrificing your growth doesn't just harm your relationships, it harms you. When you forgo your goals to meet someone else's expectations, you begin to lose your identity. What dreams have you set aside because you were too busy accommodating someone else? What passions have you ignored, telling yourself there would be time for them later? How often have you convinced yourself that later was a reasonable trade-off for their happiness now? Imagine you're climbing a mountain, each step representing a moment of growth and self-improvement. If you're climbing with someone who stops to rest indefinitely, what happens? You feel torn. Do you keep climbing, leaving them behind, or do you stop as well, sacrificing your progress? Now think about this. Are you the one stopping for someone else, or are you pausing your journey because you fear climbing alone? The answer lies in embracing the principles of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. A good person, according to Stoicism, is not someone who sacrifices their growth to make others happy. A good person seeks to better themselves so that they can offer their fullest, most authentic self to the world. Growth isn't selfish, it's essential. Only by developing yourself can you contribute meaningfully to others' lives. So, how do you begin to prioritize your growth again? Start by identifying areas where you've been holding back. What goals have you shelved because you felt they weren't as important as someone else's needs? Make a plan to revisit them. It doesn't have to be monumental. Small steps can lead to profound change. Commit to learning something new, picking up an old hobby, or simply dedicating time to reflect on who you want to become. When you grow, you inspire those around you to grow as well. The energy of progress is contagious, and the right people in your life will support and celebrate your journey. The wrong people, the ones who expect you to stay small for their benefit, will naturally drift away. And that's okay. As the Stoics taught, we can only control ourselves, not the reactions of others. Your growth will attract those who value your path and respect your efforts. Think of growth as the fuel that keeps the fire of your relationships alive. Without it, the flame dwindles, leaving only ashes behind. By committing to your own development, you reignite that fire, not just in your connections with others, but in your relationship with yourself. Next, let's delve into why being overly nice attracts the wrong kind of people. Users who exploit your kindness rather than appreciate it. This realization might sting, but it's one of the most liberating truths you'll ever face. 5. You attract users, not genuine connections. Have you ever felt drained after interacting with someone, as though they've taken everything you had to give and left nothing in return? When you're overly nice, giving without limits, without expectations, you inadvertently become a magnet for the wrong kind of people. Users. These individuals don't see your kindness as a gift, they see it as an opportunity to take advantage of you. Think about it. How often have you bent over backward for someone who rarely, if ever, reciprocated? Maybe it's a friend who only calls when they need something, or a romantic partner who seems to vanish the moment you need support. It's a painful realization, but one you must confront. Your lack of boundaries is allowing users to infiltrate your life. Why does this happen? Because excessive kindness without limits sends a clear message. I don't value my time or energy, so you don't have to either. People who respect and value genuine relationships will admire kindness, but users see it as a free pass. They'll take what you offer without ever considering how it affects you. And the more you give, the more they take, leaving you feeling empty and unappreciated. Let's look at this through a Stoic lens. Epictetus taught us that we must guard our inner peace and not give it away freely. If a person gave your body to any passerby, you would be furious. Yet you leave your mind to others to abuse at will. When you allow users into your life, you're not just giving away your time or energy, you're giving away your peace of mind. Now ask yourself, who in your life truly values you for who you are, not just for what you can do for them? Who would stay even if you stopped saying yes to every request? These are the people worth keeping. The rest, the users, will drift away when you start setting boundaries. And while that might feel lonely at first, it's a necessary step toward building healthier, more fulfilling connections. Here's an example to consider. Imagine hosting a dinner party where you prepare everything, cooking, cleaning, and organizing, while your guests simply show up, enjoy the food, and leave. At first, you might feel proud of your efforts, but as this becomes a pattern, resentment builds. No one offers to help or bring anything because they've learned you'll do it all. It's not malice on their part, it's simply human nature. You've trained them to expect it. But what if one day you asked your guests to contribute, to bring a dish or help clean up? Those who value you would gladly step up. The others? They might complain or disappear altogether. And that's the beauty of boundaries. They reveal who truly belongs in your life. If you found yourself surrounded by users, it's time to make a change. Start small. The next time someone makes a request that feels one-sided, pause. Ask yourself, does this serve me as well as them? If the answer is no, consider saying no. It's not cruel, it's an act of self-respect. And remember, the people who genuinely care for you will respect your boundaries, not push against them. Here's where I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with a user in your life? How did you handle it? Or are you still trying to figure it out? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this resonates with you, give this video a like. Your experiences might help someone else realize they're not alone. Next, we'll uncover how being overly nice impacts how others see you, specifically how it makes you appear too available, turning you from a priority into just another option. Stick with me. This next insight could change the way you approach all your relationships. 6. They see you as always available, never a priority. Have you ever noticed how easily people take for granted what is always within reach? It's a painful truth. When you make yourself endlessly available, you lose your sense of value in their eyes. You become less of a priority and more of an afterthought. They don't have to wonder where you are, what you're doing, or how you're feeling, because you're always there, ready and waiting. Imagine an all-you-can-eat buffet that's open 24/7. At first, the variety and accessibility feel exciting, but over time you stop appreciating it. You know it's always there, so you no longer feel any urgency to savor it. Relationships work in much the same way. When you make yourself constantly available, you eliminate any sense of effort or intrigue. People naturally stop valuing what they believe they don't have to work for. Why does this happen? Because effort is what creates value. When people invest time and energy into a relationship, they feel a sense of ownership, a deeper connection. But if you do all the work, initiating every conversation, adjusting your schedule to theirs, and always being the first to apologize, you rob them of the opportunity to invest in you. And without that investment, their appreciation dwindles. Now pause and reflect. Have you ever cleared your calendar for someone, only to find that they didn't show the same level of commitment? How did that make you feel? Did it leave you questioning whether they valued your presence? Or did it make you wonder why you were so quick to devalue your own time? These are hard questions, but they're necessary ones. The Stoics remind us to focus only on what we can control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action." What actions are you taking to protect your time, your energy, and your worth? Are you prioritizing your needs, or are you allowing others to dictate your availability? By constantly being available, you send an unintended message. My time isn't as important as yours. This imbalance doesn't just harm your self-esteem, it changes how others perceive you. They start to see you as someone who will always adjust, always comply. And in that predictability, you lose the sense of mystery and challenge that keeps relationships alive. But here's the good news. You can change this dynamic. Start by setting boundaries that protect your time. When someone asks to meet, consider whether it fits into your schedule, not theirs. If they text you, don't always reply immediately. Let them wonder. Let them make an effort. These small acts of reclaiming your time send a powerful signal. You value yourself, and they should too. Remember, scarcity creates value. A busy, fulfilled life is inherently attractive. It shows that you prioritize your passions, responsibilities, and personal growth. When others see that your time is precious, they'll start treating it that way. They'll make the effort to fit into your life, rather than expecting you to mold your life around theirs. Think of it like a dance. When one partner takes all the steps, the rhythm falters. But when both partners move in sync, each contributing to the flow, the dance becomes something beautiful and balanced. By pulling back, by creating space for others to contribute, you restore that balance. You give others the chance to prioritize you, to show that they value your presence. The challenge lies in breaking old habits. If you've been the one who always shows up, who always says yes, it can feel uncomfortable to step back. But discomfort is a small price to pay for reclaiming your worth. And the right people, the ones who truly value you, will not only respect your boundaries but will rise to meet them. Next, let's explore the final, most liberating reason to stop being overly nice. How it can help you break free from neediness and create healthier, more fulfilling connections. 7. It kills attraction. Attraction is a delicate balance, a subtle dance between connection and independence. When you're overly nice, constantly available, endlessly giving, and sacrificing your own needs, you upset that balance. You might think that being agreeable will make someone like you more, but in reality, it often has the opposite effect. Neediness, masked as kindness, can suffocate the natural flow of a relationship. Think about this. Have you ever been drawn to someone who was overly clingy? Someone who constantly needed your attention and validation? Chances are you didn't feel more attracted to them, you felt overwhelmed. This is what happens when you try too hard to be nice. The other person begins to see you not as a confident, self-sufficient individual, but as someone who needs their approval to feel whole. Why does this happen? The answer lies in human psychology. People are naturally attracted to confidence, independence, and strength. These qualities create a sense of intrigue and respect. But when you base your interactions on trying to please others, you inadvertently send the message that you don't value yourself. And if you don't value yourself, why should they? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. Who are you in your relationships? Are you someone who stands firm in your worth, or are you someone who bends to gain approval? The answer to this question shapes not only how others see you, but also how you see yourself. Let's explore an example. Imagine you're dating someone and you find yourself always saying yes. Yes to last-minute plans, yes to their interests over your own, yes to things you don't truly want to do. Over time, they start to take this for granted. Why wouldn't they? You've made it clear that your own needs are secondary. Instead of appreciating your kindness, they begin to lose interest. The dynamic has shifted. They feel less drawn to you, and you feel more desperate to hold on to their attention. The root of this issue is neediness. When you sacrifice your independence to please someone else, you become dependent on their validation. This creates an imbalance that erodes both respect and attraction. Relationships thrive on mutual respect and equality. When one person gives everything while the other takes, the connection weakens. But here's the truth. You don't need to be nice to be loved. What you need is to be authentic, to embrace your strengths, your quirks, your boundaries. True connection comes from being yourself, not from molding yourself to fit someone else's expectations. How can you break this cycle? Start by shifting your focus inward. Instead of trying to win someone else's approval, work on building your own confidence and self-worth. What passions have you neglected? What goals have you put on hold? Pursuing these will not only make you feel more fulfilled, but also restore the balance in your relationships. Remember, attraction isn't about constant giving, it's about creating a dynamic where both people contribute equally. When you hold back, when you set boundaries, when you prioritize your own happiness, you create space for the other person to step up. And if they don't, then they're not the right person for you. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." What are you aiming for in your relationships? A one-sided connection or a partnership built on mutual respect? The beauty of reclaiming your power is that it not only changes how others see you, but also how you see yourself. You'll stop feeling like you need to be everything for everyone, and instead you'll start to feel whole, complete, and worthy, just as you are. Each of the 7 reasons we've explored today, desperation, appearing weak, sacrificing happiness, stunting growth, attracting users, being overly available, and killing attraction, boils down to one key truth. When you prioritize others at the expense of yourself, you lose sight of your own worth. But here's the good news. You have the power to change this. The principles of Stoicism remind us that we can only control our own actions and thoughts, not how others perceive us or treat us. By setting boundaries, prioritizing your growth, and embracing your independence, you reclaim your power and invite more genuine, fulfilling relationships into your life. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these reasons resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences might inspire someone else to take back their power too. And if this video helped you see things differently, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this message. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you feel more empowered, more aligned, and ready to live authentically. Remember, your worth is not determined by how much you give to others. It's rooted in how much you value yourself. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong and keep growing.